Om Sai Ram. Let us understand chapter number 34, the greatness of Udi. But before that, let us do the Namasmaran, followed by chapter number 34, and we will conclude chapter number 34 with the Aarti. Shri Satchidananda Satguru Sainath Maharaj ki jai. ओम श्री साई नाथाय नमः 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 ओम सारा chapter number 34 greatness of Udi. I bow down to Shri Ganesh, I bow down to Shri Saraswati, I bow down to the Guru, I bow down to the family deity, I bow down to Shri Sita Ramachandra, I bow down to Shri Satguru Sainath. In the last chapter, I spoke as truly as I knew about the greatness of Udi. In the present chapter, I will continue the same narration describing its characteristics. There is a connection between the stories of the last chapter and this one about the power of Udi. Listeners may hear them with a peaceful mind for their own happiness and understanding. The dreadful disease of tuber-bone ulcers, which could not be cured by any means, was totally eradicated by the application of Udi by Sai's own hands. There are many such stories about the Udi. I am narrating one as an indication. You will be surprised listening to it, as it has been a well observed experience. A qualified doctor of Melgaon district, Nasik, was unable to cure illness of his nephew by any medication. He was a doctor and had doctors amongst friends. They tried all kinds of remedies. Even skilled surgeons were at a loss and were confounded. The disease was tubal bone abscesses. It was tremendously difficult to bring under control and it resisted all medication. All remedies, indigenous and foreign, were tried. All efforts were made. Even surgery was done. Nothing succeeded. The nephew was young. He was unable to bear the pain. He struggled under extreme pain, and the relatives were distressed. When all medical efforts had crossed the limit, and yet there was a chance, not a slightest improvement. Some relations and friends suggested to invoke divine help. So the family deity and others were propitiated, but none of them seemed to help. Then they learned that in Shirdi village there was a famous Olya. He was the greatest among the saints of Shirdi. Sai Maharaj was the greatest of yogis. By his mere darshan, diseases were eradicated. This was what was heard. The desire to have Sai's darshan arose. The mother and father decided, let us try this remedy with the trust in God. He is said to be a great Olya. If he applies Udi with his own hands, incurable diseases are also eradicated. What do we lose by taking this experience? Let us go at his feet. Let us try this last remedy. Perhaps it might ward off this problem. It is our last resort. Enough. Later, the parents made the quick preparation of anxious for Sai's darshan. They arrived quickly at Shirdi. They took for Baba's darshan as soon as they arrived. They bowed and prostrated at his feet. They narrated the sufferings of the boy and stood in front of Baba. Overwhelmed with grief, with folded hands, they surrendered to Baba and with faces showing distress, they beseeched Baba. This boy is suffering, they said. We cannot bear to see him tortured, but We do not know what more we can do. We see no hope. Seeing the deterioration of our son, we were greatly wearied, that is, exhausted. Sai Samartha, therefore, place a boon granting hand on his head and relieve his suffering. Hearing about your greatness, we have come here. We have surrendered to you with full devotion. Bestow his life to us. Then the Sai, embodiment of compassion, assured them, those who come and resort to this masjid shall never suffer anything in this life. Now be carefree. Take Udi and apply it on the abscess. Within 4 to 8 days, he will get relief. Have faith in God. This is not a masjid, but Dwaravati. He who steps here will get health and happiness within no time. You will also get this experience. It is impossible that whoever comes here is not relieved. He who climbs the steps of this masjid will accomplish his objective. Know that. Later on, Baba orders from Baba, the patient was made to sit before him. Baba moved his hand on the leg and cast a merciful glance at him. This was merely a physical suffering, but even suffering which is destined or created by the mind is destroyed from the roots by the darshan. Just seeing Shri Sai's face, all trouble cease, and there, drinking the nectar of his words, which gives great happiness to a sick person. So be it. They stayed there for 4 days. There was improvement in the disease, and their faith in Sai developed. Thereafter, those three, with Baba's full permission, returned home full of happiness and satisfaction. Was this a small miracle that a tuber bone absence was cured only with Udi and a merciful glance? This alone is the unparalleled remedy. Thus, due to the good fortune, they had the darshan of a great sage, his assurance and beneficial blessings. By these, only the disease had been uprooted. So be it. After the application of the Udi and partaking of it, for some days the absence drained away. The wound filled up and the boy regained good health. When the uncle heard all this at Melgaon, it arose a desire to have Sai's darshan in him. He thought of fulfilling his wish on the way back to Bombay. But when he left for Bombay, at Melgaon and at Manmad, somebody created doubts in his mind and he abandoned the idea of going to Shirdi. Such is the fate of many who have a good intention. Evil minded people put a spoke in the wheel right at the start. Only those who pay no heed to public opinion achieve happiness at the end. Then, setting aside the idea of a saint's darshan, he went straight to Bombay and decided to spend the rest of the holidays at Alibag. After he had decided thus, for 3 consecutive nights, he heard a voice in his sleep. Do you have a disbelief in me? On hearing this voice from heaven, repeatedly the doctor was bewildered. He decided to go to Shirdi, for he felt that the voice was meaningful. But the doctor was treating someone with an infectious fever. So he decided to leave immediately after the patient got better. But the temperature was very high and no medication proved useful. It did not come down at all. So he could not leave immediately. So he ultimately decided that if the patient improved that day, he would leave the next day without losing a moment for Shirdi. Within a few hours of making this firm resolution, the temperature came down. The doctor's objective could be fulfilled and he left for Shirdi. As determined, he went to Shirdi. He bowed at Baba's feet with full faith. Baba convinced him of his secret experience and made him a firm devotee. Baba placed his hand on the doctor's head with blessings and gave him Udi Prasad. Realizing the unfathomable greatness of Sai, he was filled with amazement. He stayed there for 4 days and returned with a happy frame of mind. Hardly a fortnight passed that he went to Bijapur on promotion. It was on account of a tuber bone absence that he had the opportunity of Sai's darshan. He developed love for the saint's feet and achieved permanent bliss. Similarly, once Dr. Pillai was in excruciating pain because of gunia worms. They had increased from 1 to 7. He was fed up of life. Sai Baba loved him greatly and affectionately called him by the nickname Bao. He always inquired after his well being with great love. In the masjid, Bao's place was near the railing in the morning and evening. He spent a lot of time with Bao and chatted a lot. Bao was needed when the chillam was puffed. Bao was needed when the bidi was smoked. Bao was needed when passing judgment on certain matters. When he was not near, he was missed. Enough. This was his background. Since the pain on account of gunia worms was unbearable, Bao was confined to bed being enfeebled. The intensity of pain was too much to bear. Even in such a pathetic situation, Bao chanted Sai's name. Enough of this suffering. Even death is preferable. He cried, surrendering to Sai. He sent a message to Baba. I am weary of bearing this pain. How many abscesses do I have on my body? I do not have the strength to bear this. Throughout my life, I have acted correctly. Why should I undergo this painful condition? I have never deviated from the path of righteousness. Why should I be punished for what sin? Baba, I can no longer bear this pain on account of guinea worms, which is similar to death. Instead, let me die now. I shall undergo this suffering in my next life. There is no alternative but to bear the pain. I shall have to take many more births, but that which is destined cannot be avoided. Dull witted, even though I am, I realize it. I will happily take 10 more births which I shall undergo the fruits of my karma, but grant me the boon of ending this present life. Enough of this life. Release me from this birth. I do not wish to undergo this pain. This is all I ask for now. Listening to this prayer, the Sitharana felt compassion for Dr. Pillai's satisfaction and showered the nectar of mercy. Savor it. Then, seeing this utterly painful situation of Dr. Pillai, notice what the devotees fulfilling tree did to remove it. This message from Dr. Pillai was brought by Dikshit. Listening to the news, Baba said, go and tell him to be fearless. And the further message he sent, why should he be crippled for 10 lives? He has to bear it out for only 10 days, and we shall both share it. When I am capable of granting liberation, material desires, or spirituality, are you being brave in asking for something meaningless like death? Pick him up and bring him here. What has been destined must be borne with equanimity. One should not be confounded like this. Bring him here on somebody's back. So the doctor was immediately brought to the masjid in such a condition. Taking out the bolster from behind his back, Baba gave it to him to lean on. Placing it on his right, where the fakir used to sit, he said, lean on it and stay quiet. Do not fret unnecessarily. Stretch your legs out comfortably, whereby you will be at ease. Whatever is destined has to be borne. That is the only remedy. Good or bad, plain or pleasure, as per destiny. Come either like nectar or poison. Bear in mind that this pair of opposites come naturally in life of a person. Be neither happy nor miserable. Endure whatever comes. Allah is the master and protector. Always meditate upon him. He takes every care. Surrender at his feet with body, mind, speech, and wealth. If one remains constantly thinking of him, one will realize his functioning. Then Dr. Pillai said that Nana Sahib Chandolkar had tied a bandage over the wound, but he had got no relief. Baba said, Nana is mad. Remove the bandage, otherwise you will die. Now a crow will come and peck. Then you will get wet. Enough. This conversation was in progress. Abdul came up immediately to pour oil in the lamp. See what happened all of a sudden. The masjid was as it is, small, and there are a large crowd of devotees. In the midst of all that was there was a confusion about Pillai. Abdul had no room to put his foot. Abdullah was concentrating on his work and he had his attention on lamps. Thereby, he did not notice Pillai. Something unusual happened. What could Abdullah do? What was destined to happen will happen. Unknowingly, his foot fell on his leg, which Pillai had stretched out. The leg was as it is swollen, and Abdullah stepped on it at that very spot. Then Pillai bawled out loudly as he was excruciating in pain. He shrieked once in such a way that it pierced the mind. Then, with folded hands, he prayed to Baba for mercy. Listen to it. The wound burst and the worms began to ooze out. Pillai was very restless. He was crying out loudly and singing alternately, O Karim, have mercy on my pitiable state. Thou art called merciful and kind. Thou art emperor of both the worlds. The world is thy splendor. This world is going to be destroyed, but your grandeur shall be eternal. You are always the savior of the devotees. The pain was intermittent. He was in agony and laid down helplessly. Everyone felt that this was Sai Baba's sport. Baba said, Look at Bao, he seems better. He is singing now. Pillai then asked him, Is that the crow still going to peck at me? Then Baba said, Go and rest in the Vada now. The crow will not come again to peck at you. Did he not already come? He is the same who trod on your leg. He is the crow who pecked and ran away. He squeezed out the worms. What crow? It had only been a figure of speech. Whatever had to happen was done in front of all. He fulfilled the prediction. These were not ordinary words, but destiny. Even deeds done in previous birth will have no effect. Within a short time, Bao began to feel better, and as the 10th day dawned, the disease was totally cured by the application of Udi and partaking it. This was the only medication. All the seven worms came out alive from the wound. They were thin and long. The excruciating pain eased. There was an end to the misery. Experiencing this miracle, Pillai was overwhelmed, and tears of affection flowed from his eyes, while the fine deed of Baba Pillai embraced Baba's feet. He was choked with emotion but could not utter a single word. After narrating one more experience, we shall conclude the description of the greatness of Udi. One's experience matches one's devotion. That, in fact, is the sum and substance of this book. The story is about Pappaji, the youngest brother of Madhav Rao, and how he achieved his well being with Udi when he was in difficulty. How much should I describe the marvels and power of this Udi? Udi is the medicine par excellence for plague and other diseases. While living at Savul Vihir, a place near Shirdi, Bappaji's wife had fever and was developed in her groins. He felt anxious, seeing his wife in great pain. At the fearsome night, Bappaji lost all fortitude and courage. During that night itself, he ran to Shirdi and arrived shaken and trembling. He told the full details of to his brother. He said she developed two buboes and it was greatly troubling by the high fever. Come and see for yourself. I do not think all is well. When Bappaji narrated the pitiful state, Madhavrao was shocked and terror stricken. He was at his wits' end. Madhavrao, though normally was a balanced person, was shocked and to hear about the buboes. It was well known that the bubonic plague could lead to quick death. Whatever the situation, good or bad, or any other auspicious or inauspicious, it was a tradition in Shirdi to consult Sai. Then, whatever he said was followed meticulously. He alone removed the problems of his devotees. How many such experiences can I describe? So, as per this routine, Madhav Rao also thought of adopting this means. He went to Baba and greeted him with reverence and prostrated before him. He said, Hail, hail, Sainath, have mercy on us, the helpless ones. Now, what is this problem that has arisen, causing unnecessary anxiety? Who else can we implore besides you? Take away the girl's agony and give her blessings. Remove this difficulty. Who else will care for us? Bring this terrible fever down. Be true to your creed of protection. He also asked permission to leave when Baba said, Do not go so late in the night. Send Udi to her. Why care for the fever and the bubbas? God is our Father. She will be all right easily. Everything will be safe and without problems. Early in the morning, you go to Saul Vihir and return. Do not be in a hurry and go now. Stay here calmly. Go tomorrow only. There is no need to be restless. When the Udi is applied and partaken with faith, why should one be frightened? Hearing this, Bappaji was frightened. He was greatly disappointed. Madhav Rao knew the anecdote of medical plants for this disease, but his knowledge would be of no use now. Madhav Rao knew fully well that without Sai's grace, no medicine would be effective. This was a secret and an indication. So, going to Baba's will, Madhav Rao sent Udi and remained calm and quiet. Bappaji returned disappointed. When the Udi was mixed in water and given to drink and also applied to the body, she profusely perspired and fell asleep. By sunrise, the wife felt quite well. Gone was the fever and also the poisonous bubois. Bappaji was surprised. At Shirdi, as soon as Madhavrao awoke and finished his ablutions, he came to the masjid for darshan. On his way to Savul Vihir, he took Sai Baba's darshan and prostrated at his feet. As soon as he got the udi and blessings, he left from there. As he was descending the steps of the masjid, he heard Baba command him, Shama, return immediately. There will be no cause to delay. On the way, he must be worried. Must my sister-in-law be in agony? How will she be bearing the sensation of the two bubbas? She must be lying in agony. Failing to understand the meaning of Baba's words, return immediately. Shama was worried even more and walked fast on his way. Until he reached Savul Vihir, he had no patience. But when he stepped across the threshold, he witnessed the miracle. One who had fever on account of plague the previous night was making tea before the fireplace. Madhavra was surprised to see the change in her condition. Then he asked Bappaji, How is it that she got busy with her normal routine? Bappaji replied, This is the miracle due to Baba's Udi, certainly. He added, As soon as I came, I gave her Udi to drink and applied it, massaging it all over the body. She immediately profusely perspired and slept comfortably. Then, this morning at sunrise, she got up hale and hearty, free of bubbas and fever. All this is Sai's doings. When Shama saw the state of affairs, he immediately recalled Sai's words, return immediately. He understood the meaning and was amazed. The problem had ended even before arrival. Madhavrao had a cup of tea and returned. He went straight to the masjid and bowed to Baba's feet. He said, "Oh Deva, what is this sport? Sitting here, you raise a turmoil in our minds. A storm is raised, and later you alone calm it down." Baba replied to him, "Observe that the ways of fate are difficult to understand. I do not, I do nothing, nor make others do anything, yet I am held responsible for all that happens. I am just a witness to the deeds that happen on account of fate. The eternal Lord is the doer and the mover. He alone is the compassionate one. I am neither God nor Almighty. I am not the Lord nor the Supreme Spirit. I only remember the Lord and remind people of the existence of the Supreme Lord. I am the poor servant of Allah. He who abandons all pride is ever grateful to Him and places his burden on Him will achieve his objective." Listen to an important and similar experience of an Irani gentleman. His young daughter used to lose her speech hour on hour. Every hour she got convulsions. Her body arched like a bow and she fell down at that very spot. She became unconscious as if she would die. No remedy was effective. Later, a friend of his described to him the importance of Udi and told him that there is no other unbelievable and sapphire remedy than that. Go to Parley without delay and ask Dikshit for Udi, of which he had in store. He will give it with great pleasure. Then every day, if you give the Udi, remembering Sai, with full faith to drink her to her, this convulsion will be cured and she will be happy. Hearing this, then the Irani gentleman got Udi from Dikshit and gave it regularly to his daughter to drink, and she got cured. Whereas she used to have this problem every hour. She improved right away on taking the Udi as the frequency of fits decreased from 1 hour to 7 hours. At first, the frequency decreased from 1 hour to 7 hours, and after some time had passed, the fits stopped altogether. An old gentleman lived in the village near Harda. He was very distressed on account of kidney stone and suffered much from it. There was no cure for it other than surgery. Therefore, he was told to find some skillful surgeon. The patient was extremely worried and could not think of what to do. His body was very thin and weak, and he seemed to be at death's doorstep. He was unable to bear the tremendous pain. To undergo the operation, a patient needs courage, and this is what he lacked. But by the good grace and good luck, his adversity ended. You will be surprised to hear it. When this was the situation, the Inamdar of the town, who was a great devotee of Sai Baba, was known to come to the village at that time. Everyone knew that he always kept Baba's vibhuti. The relatives of the patient came to him and requested him for some udi. The Inamdar gave the udi. The son gave it to the father and mixed it in water. Hardly 5 minutes passed when the miracle happened. When the Udi Prasad was assimilated in the body, the kidney stone was pushed out from the kidney and was flushed out with the urine. He felt immediate relief. The wife of a gentleman from Bombay by caste, a Keshav Prabhu, always had difficulty at the time of delivery. Then, no matter what was tried, nothing was efficacious. The lady felt as if she was dying, and the poor gentleman was distressed. Sri Ram Maruti was well known person who was a devotee of Sai. After consulting him, this gentleman decided to leave for Shirdi. As the time of delivery neared, they both were terribly distressed. But after they decided to go to Shirdi, they felt that they would have nothing to fear. Whatever has to happen, let it happen, at least near Baba. Firmly deciding thus, they came and lived in Shirdi. In this way, both of them lived in Shirdi for months together. Both were happy performing puja and staying in the company of Sai. After some time had thus passed, the time for the delivery neared. They became extremely apprehensive as to how the difficulty would be overcome. Finally, the day of delivery arrived and the passage from the womb was obstructed. Everyone became worried. The lady was in severe pain and was unable to think of what to do. She was chanting Baba's name, for who else can have mercy? The neighboring ladies came in haste, praying to Baba fervently. One of them poured water in a glass, mixed udi, and gave her to drink. Hardly had 5 minutes passed when the lady delivered. The child was stillborn, having died in the womb itself. That was the fate of the child. She would conceive again later, but the lady felt relieved of the fears and was in a happy state. She delivered without much trouble. She was freed from danger to her life. The time for anxiety was averted. She remained indebted to Baba for life. The next chapter is even more interesting, and the listener's eagerness will be satisfied. The habit of criticizing will disappear as devotion develops. We worship the formless. We will not give dakshina. We will not even bow down. We will come for darshan only on these conditions. Even those with such firm resolution, when they saw Sai's feet prostrated themselves with eightfold obeisance and tendered dakshina. What a miracle is this! The incomparable greatness of Udi, the loving devotion of Nevaskar, and how he maintained the righteous behavior of the household by offering milk to a poisonous snake. All this will be narrated. Listening to such excellent stories will arouse loving devotion. The miseries of worldly existence will subside. It is greater bliss than this. Therefore, Hemat prays at Sai's feet to arouse love in the listeners and to get involved in his stories. May there be well being. This is the end of the 34th chapter of the Shri Sai Satcharithra, written by the devotee Hemat Pant, impelled by saints and virtuous people, called the greatness of Udi. This is offered to Shri Satguru Sainath. May there be auspiciousness. Om Sai Ram. Now let us conclude chapter number 34 by doing the Aarti. Shri Sachidanand Satguru Sainath Maharaj ki jai. शिर्डी माझे पंढरपूर साई बाबा रमावर बाबा रमावर साई बाबा रमावर शुद्ध भक्ती चंद्रभागा भाव पुंडली जागा पुंडली जागा भाव पुंडली जागा याऊ याऊ अवघे जन करा बाबा श्रीवंदन साई श्रीवंदन करा बाबा श्रीवंदन मनोबने बाबा साई पाव पाव माझे आई पाव माझे आई पाव माझे आई अनिल तांगन वने गचरण तुयति पाइन रूप तुझे प्रेमीन रंगीन अनंत पूजिम भवेव मा इन बने नमा त्वमेव माता पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धु सदा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या दैरङ्गमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव पायर्नु मा चापसर्नियर्मा उद्यागना वा पतन स्वभाव करोमि यद्यं सकलन्तरस्मै नारायणाय समर्पयामि अच्युतं केशवं राम नाम नारायणं कृष्णदामोदरं वासुदेवं हरे इदवं माधवं गोपिका विलवं जानकी नायकं रामचन्द्रं हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे श्री गुरुदेव दत्त सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज Om Sai Ram. I urge all the listeners to read one chapter of the Sai Satcharithra every day and soak in Baba bliss. Baba bless you. Om Sai Ram.